The exclusive home of the Utah Mammoth is on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And this is Kerfoot, back for Stenlund, relayed back to Sergachev. This way, one-timer, they score! And it's the first of the year for Alexander Kerfoot. Welcome back. 3-2 the score. Pearson feeds the middle, right in front, they score! And this one is Morgan Barron. 2 quick goals from Winnipeg, and all of a sudden, we're tied at 3. The Jets have come storming back. Dylan Gunther gets to a loose puck, and the Mammoths start with possession. Gunther through center, a 2-on-1. Gunther, pass across, Keller scores! Merry Christmas, you filthy animal! Clayton Keller wins it in overtime!
You're locked into JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen, thanks for being with us on a balmy Christmas Eve? It's all those Eves in front of it. Just a few more days till Christmas, so get your stuff done. If you're out and about, congratulations. You still have a lot more to do. Just letting you know.
Kids are getting antsy. They can't wait.
And you think you're done with the shopping. Oh, no. You'll be out on the 24th doing something. There's an in-law you forgot.
You'll get a panicked text from your significant other saying, I forgot this, or, oh, no, we got to get that. Hey, it's up to you now. It's up to you to solve that problem before Christmas comes.
Well, the worst text you could ever get during this time of the year, the next couple of days, starts with, could you go to Costco
you lost me at Costco. Don't get me wrong, love our friends at Costco, but Costco on those days, no thank you.
Our program at this hour brought to you by the good folks at the Doug Smith brand of dealerships in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and in Linden. Nobody knows cars like Doug. Cole Bagley, of course, our Utah Mammoth insider for KSLSports.com, joining you courtesy of the folks at Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. Cole, I was glad how that one ended. It seems like this team gets into overtime and they end very quickly. Sometimes it's the other direction. It's like if somebody gets into that zone in the first 30 seconds, they might score immediately in overtime, and it happened against one of the best goaltenders in all of the land, and Connor Hellebuck, and the Jets end up going home without those 2 points, the 2 points that the Mammoth needed, and they got it last night. Your reaction to that one as you watched it live?
Yeah, I mean, possession is 9/10 of the law. And, you know, in the National Hockey League, when you go to overtime, it's all about winning the faceoff, you know, especially that initial faceoff. And that's why, you know, they've got their specialist out there, Kevin Stenlund. He does a beautiful job, you know, winning that, and, you know, Gunther helping out there, and then Keller jumps over the boards. And, you know, they needed that win really, really badly. You know, it pushed them back up into the second wild card spot. And I think just from a lot of different angles, you know, to beat, you know, a Winnipeg Jets team that just got Connor Hellebuck back, to have Keller have the game that he did with 2 points, a goal and an assist, for him to get the overtime winner. You know, when we asked Keller about it last night, you know, he said that him and Gunther were talking about what they wanted to do when they took the ice, and that was to come at them with a lot of speed, and that's exactly what they did. You know, Gunther won the puck, Keller jumped the boards and switched for Stenlund, and they attacked with speed, got the 2-on-1, and just a beautiful shot. You know, Keller threading the needle on that one to beat arguably the best goaltender in the world, and, you know, claim 2 critical points, because right now, you know, the goal, the short-term goal is to just stay alive, stay in the race, you know, stay within about 3, 4, 5 points of that wild card spot. And right now they're in a wild card spot. So, yeah, a tough kind of letdown over about 5 minutes in the third period, but they responded appropriately, and they came out, you know, with their heads on fire in overtime and got the 2 points.
Look, it feels a lot different since they won, and the excitement and the thrill of the way it ended is all great. But I think it's important that we go look back and say, okay, what was the letdown for? What happened in that third quarter, Cole, that led to that? Because that's something that, you know, we talk about with this team, and like, sometimes there are those moments where it feels like, I don't know, things kind of slip or the intensity goes away. What's your diagnosis of what happened in that third? And I'm sure that they're discussing that in their meetings and in their locker room.
Yeah, I mean, the word that Andre Tourny used in his postgame was they got too conservative, and that's exactly what took place. For 55 minutes of that hockey game, 55 minutes and 14 seconds, I think, into the overtime, Utah dominated every inch of ice, and that was evident, especially in the offensive zone, where they were winning battles. They weren't just turning the puck over, they weren't just dumping and chasing, but they were dumping, and putting the puck deep. They were going in, they're getting to the dirty areas, they were winning pucks in the corners, and from there they were able to kind of set up their offense and facilitate. And they put a lot of pressure on Winnipeg. I mean, they were generating a lot of grade A scoring chances, and that's why they jumped out to a quick 2-0 lead, and I believe they went up 3-0, and it just felt like Utah was absolutely the dominant force, and they were until about the 5-6 minute mark in the third period. That's when they got too conservative. And you could kind of feel it coming. I'd say that around the 8 to 9 minute mark is when they started to go too conservative. Instead of attacking and building on their lead, they kind of backed off and tried to defend it. And that usually is the worst thing you can do in the NHL, is just try to defend a lead, especially a 2-goal lead. As we saw last night, the game can flip on its head immediately. Two goal leads can evaporate in a matter of seconds. And instead of attacking, they packed into the defensive zone. As Krause kind of explained, look, we just kept chipping pucks out, and when we were doing that, we were giving it right back to them, and they couldn't get changes. And so, a minute and 32 minutes goes by. That's a long time to be on the ice, especially when the Jets are just, moving the puck swiftly around the zone and creating open space. And that's how they got scored on, twice in about, I believe, 15 seconds. And, game was tied up. And so that's really where the letdown came from. And as Krause kind of continued, he said, look, we needed to find a big moment, a big play. And that's exactly right. If they would have finished off, some of their chances previously, or really pushed the pace and gone up by 3 goals, well, that more or less kind of puts the game out of reach. But, they let Winnipeg hang around, and, obviously they took advantage. You had one of the best lines in the National Hockey League as the Jets' top line, and, they scored quickly and tied things up. But that big moment came in overtime, and obviously, that's all she wrote.
How big of a deal is it to get Alex Kerfoot back? Aside from the veteran presence, he brings some, that potential to be another threat scoring-wise for this team. But he's also one of those guys that's as solid and as smart as it gets on the ice, and I would imagine that they're pretty excited to get Kerf back.
Yeah, of course. I believe he's a Harvard grad, so he's probably, one of the smartest guys on the team. Andre Tourny jokes that one day they'll all be working for Alexander Kerfoot in some sort of capacity. And, that's a big thing. He obviously sees the ice. He sees the game incredibly well. That was evident in his play last night. He was, really, really helpful. I think he was coming in late on PKs. He had one particular penalty kill where, he blocked a shot out towards the point and was able to clear it. And that, pretty much killed off the rest of the power play for Winnipeg. But I think where the most value for him is, like you talk about, he's a veteran presence. And, a lot of the veteran leadership and experience on this team has been coming from the blue line. Guys like, Ian Cole and John Marino and Sean Dursey. They haven't really had a veteran voice, a veteran presence amongst their forwards. And so I think that's where Kerfoot, really is most welcomed back, is, his knowledge of the game, his voice, how he sees it, and just the ability to put his foot down at times and say, okay, guys, like we're not playing particularly well in this area. Let's go ahead and fix that. And again, going back on what Krause's post game last night, that's kind of what he said is, look, we love having him back because he's really smart. He's really talented, but his voice, I think, carries in that locker room.
I want to talk about Clayton Keller because obviously somebody needed to step up even more in the absence of one of their best young players who's out with an injury. And it's obviously you look at the captain and say, okay, that's the guy that's gonna have to step up and be more productive. It looks like he has been recently. What's different? What have you noticed about him lately that's led to more productive play and more spirited play from the captain?
Yeah, I mean, he's got 4 points over the last 3 games, and in those 3 games, 2 wins, the first one against Detroit, and then obviously last night. against Winnipeg. And I would argue that in those 2 wins, Keller was the best player on the ice on either side. And I think the difference for him, and I had the opportunity to ask Tourney about this last night, is, he was kind of explaining that he feels like Keller's kind of starting to come into his stride this season. And he says the difference is that he's kind of playing mad. He's playing angry. And I think that's evident. It's been a tough year for him, both from a production standpoint and then, in his personal life, right? Losing his dad, is a tough thing, especially the fact that he kept playing hockey games. But there's been just that noticeable difference on the ice over these last 3 games. He's more engaged in the offensive zone. He's more engaged on all, he's playing a very complete 200-foot game. He's winning a lot of offensive zone battles. I think for a while there, he kind of went away from that. He'd not necessarily shy away from battling along the boards, but he'd make, maybe an effort, and if it wouldn't go his way, he'd end up turning the other direction. But I really paid close attention to him last night and in Detroit as well when I was there. And he was just scrappy. He's smaller, right? Like he's probably one of the smaller players, most nights. But he was very poised. He utilized his stick very well. He won a lot of loose pucks back. His reloads were really good. And I just think I wrote about this last night. I feel like he's one of the best facilitators in the game. His ability to see the ice, every inch of it, to kind of be able to predict where players are going. That assist of JJ Peterka last night was just, I thought the delivery was prettier than the finish.
Yeah.
He recognized that there were 2 Winnipeg defensemen that were just simply puck watching. He saw Peterka was going to the back door, and he threaded the smallest of windows under Hellebuck's stick to feed Peterka just for an easy tap in. So, yeah, I think a lot of it's attitude. There are athletes that play well when they're upset, and there's athletes that don't. I think some athletes get too much in their head and they try to do too much. Well, I think when Keller is playing with that extra edge, he's a little bit angry. Tourney says he likes when he's unhappy. I think it helps him lock in a little bit more. I think, it's almost adds like a sixth sense to his game, and that's what we've seen over these last 3, and that's why he's got 4 points. And the Mammoth have had 2 wins with with his name written all over him.
The NHL takes a few days off, obviously, around the Christmas holiday, part of the last CBA negotiations, and that means the Mammoth have 1 game tomorrow, and then they'll have another one. They'll have a little bit of a break, and they've played more games than anybody else in the NHL this year, so I think the break will be much welcomed. But they don't get an easy one as they go into the toughest barn in all of hockey, taking on the Avs, and it's such a weird thing to see how far ahead the Avalanche are among everybody across the entire league. They've got they've got 59 points. They're 26-2 with 7 overtime losses, so those are 7 extra points on there. But they've only had 2 true losses on the year out of the games that they played, and 26 wins. How good is this Avs team really, and how tough of a deal will it be to try to get this thing done at Ball Arena tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, this might be, one of the best hockey teams of the last 15, 20 years. Just with all the firepower that they have, arguably, Nathan McKinnon is the best player in the world right now. And Kel McCarr is probably a top 10 player, easily the best defenseman in the world. And it's just, they can come, they've got Nietzsche, they've got Landeskog. Like, they are a super team, but it's a super team that works incredibly well. I remember I went out to Colorado for the season opener against the Avalanche. And it was like every offensive shift, you kind of had to hold your breath because the Avs were just threatening to score at any moment. The chemistry for that team is as good as it gets, but they play with so much speed. I mean, you could have a rush one way and suddenly, they're retrieving the puck, they're breaking out, and before you can blink, they're behind you, and it's a 2-on-1 situation, with the puck on McKinnon's stick. And then, if you can't let them have offensive zone time because they will break you down, and they're so good at puck retrievals. Gabriel Landeskog is just, I think he's overlooked in terms of how impactful his game can be. You know, he's the captain over there, and you know, he just battles and he wins pucks back for Makar and McKinnon, and they go to work, and it's tough. But I think, you know, the good news is, you know, Utah pushed Colorado in that home opener. I think it was the game was decided by just a goal or two. And then, you know, of those two regulation losses, you know, Utah owns one of those. And so, you know, it would be a huge victory for Utah, I think, to just even get a point in Colorado tomorrow. But if they can somehow find a way to win, that would be a lot of momentum going into this break, right? Like right now they're in a second wild card position. If they can pick up 2 points, they'll probably stay there through, you know, these next few days. And, you know, that would just be a big thing for morale, but it's going to take near perfection, right? I mean, this is, like I said, this is one of the best teams that I've watched over the last 15, 20 years. So, yeah, it's a tough thing. It's a tall task to beat the Avs right now.
It'd be more than a signature win. It'd be just, I mean, especially to go into a break like that too, and they need the rest. And man, that would be huge for Bear as well, because I know that I was telling JJ I'm watching this thing last night, and as soon as that third goal was scored by the Jets to even it up at 3-3, they went straight to Bear on the bench, and you're like, oh boy, like that's a lot of pressure, and the TV guys know it. They're all, get that camera on the coach, because this is one where people are going to be like, because the Boo Birds come out, you know, all that. It was such a deflating moment, and so I think be able to get a reset like that, and like you said, even if they got them to overtime and stole a point somehow, that would be an amazing way to do it. Cole, we wish you the happiest of holidays and Merry Christmas, man, and we'll chat with you after the break, and have fun watching this one tomorrow night as well, and we'll keep our eyes peeled for this Mammoth team as they come out of the break as well. Thanks for hanging, man.
Well, I appreciate it. You guys got me all nervous. I'm headed to Costco here in about an hour. And
you're a brave soul.
Hold on, let me throw some holy water your way. You're going to need it.
Hey, better today than tomorrow.
Well,
yeah.
Either way, I mean, I had to do it earlier this morning, and so I went in, and I had some lady go, "Is this the line?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." I go, "Oh yeah, yes it is." And people are on edge already, like the fighting over parking spots and stuff. Just go out there with an open mind and just with a little bit of grace, and this is also, I was reading about this. This is the most accidents happen this time of year, and it's all in parking lots.
Yeah,
and it's all just people who are, because you're a high stress. You got a lot. There are way more people on the road than usual, so just take her easy out there, Cole. That's the advice we're giving everybody. So thanks for hanging out, man. We always appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. We'll chat soon.
There you go. Cole Bagley, everybody. Yeah, it was a good win last night. It was a bummer that they lost in New Jersey the other night, and just they couldn't get anything going. A good defensive effort by Jersey, but man, get the win last night. 26-2.
It's unbelievable. I'm looking at the standings.
They're so far ahead of everybody. They have
59 points. So the top team right now in the East, just to give you perspective, the number one team in the East is the Carolina Hurricanes. They only have 47 points. I say only. They have 47 points, which is significant. And all that said, there's one team that is nipping at the heels.
Yeah,
of
it's the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, it's the Dallas Stars with 55 points.
Yeah, they're good, and they're both in the same division, by the way, as the Mammoth. And then on top of it, so they're 26-2, and they have the 7 overtime losses as well, where they get a point. So they have 59 points. They've played 3 fewer games than the Mammoth have. So that's with they could probably notch it up, and if they
could
had
get another 6 points on top of that, just when they catch up,
right?
Yeah,
and so it's pretty bonkers to see how good this team is. So lots of work to do, and hopefully that trip, knowing you got to put it all out there, and you have a few days off, hopefully they sell out totally and go after it. So we'll take a break. We'll come back. When we do, we've got more for you on a Monday edition, a Christmas week edition of JJ and Alex. We'll come back around. We've got some audio from the NFL and our NFL Blitz, our locals, of course, that JJ and the folks on KSL TV just do such a good job. You guys on Sports Beat Live just do an awesome job. Or KSL Sports Live do an awesome job bringing this thing. And I was all about it last night, getting a little teary-eyed watching Taysom talk about football.
Might have been his last home game.
We'll see. We'll come back. We've got more to go around the corner. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.